Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy is about this guy who is suddenly finds out that his parents actually come from another world, and he meets the god Tsukiyomi, who basically tells him all this and is like, basically, your parents have promised to, I think they said, trade their most valuable thing, which ends up being their kids. And so he ends up going, so his sisters don't have to go. So he gets isekai'd into a new world. And he has to encounter a goddess, and Tsukiyomi is like, watch out, she's a bit of a bitch. And then he encounters her, and she's like, oh my god, you're hideous, fuck off. Because as it turns out, in her world, which she's governing, all of the humans are super hot. So she, gives him the ability to speak all languages except for human, and then she, kicks him out into the middle of the wilderness. And then Tsukiyomi is like, yeah, I saw something like this coming, so I'm gonna give you a huge power buff. It's like a mixture of a bunch of different isekai stories. So he ends up forming this, monster country, and he ends up adopting this dragon as, a familiar operating under him who turns into a hot lady, and then he encounters an even stronger spider, which turns into a familiar under him, and then also turns into a hot lady, and then he has to, name the people in the country, and he's slowly developing the, economy and the ecosystem of this monster country that he's forming, but then he leaves to go become an adventurer, so then he has to deal with the corrupt adventuring guilds and corrupt adventurers, while also dealing with the economic systems involved with, trading and trying to create a functional economy of his own city. But then also the goddess fucks with him at one point and teleports him into the middle of a battlefield against the kings of the demon, the minions of the Demon King, who are also fighting against the goddess. And you might have noticed that I've just described about essentially 6 different isekai series, but this one is just doing it all as one thing. And I honestly, here's the thing. It seems like taking the plot of 6 series and just smashing them into one ball could get messy, but it actually is doing it in a fun and entertaining way. Also, this isn't a real harem series because he has 2 love interests, and there's an implications that there's other girls that might be interested in him, the orc girl or something, but she has a strong enough personality and she's not really main cast. So what this really enters into is I would struggle to even say love triangle. It's almost like they're forming a sort of polycule. In this, it manages to really create a modest amount of romantic entanglements for the characters. And it doesn't necessarily it's doing so much. It's a very jack of all trades show. And it's not really doing everything as well as I've seen the series that focus on those specific aspects do it, but it is managing to do them at such a high enough quality that it becomes tolerable. And the sort of merging of all these plot threads actually is sort of creating an interesting, cohesive narrative that seems to be working with something. It's also surprisingly decent as an action show. The actual final fight scene in this season was pretty goddamn exciting. So, yeah, Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy, it seems messy, but it's somehow managing to work to a cohesive whole, and I'm honestly pretty excited for Season 2 and probably Season 3. Twitch and Discord in the description. I've been Sacrobolic, your envoy of hope. Bye-bye.